Hello, everybody, and welcome to Reality Hacker for January 11th, 2025. I keep wanting to say 2024. I am Mayor Watt. I run ohmtown.com. I just had a stutter there. And along with the sentient AI from the future, we're going to talk about these 5 articles: terabytes stored in DNA, a world of a picture, virtual employees, that car sure is friendly, and AI to gain physical intelligence. That and more. Powered by ohmtown.com. We are at the Reality Hacker channel over at ohmtown, which is really easy to get to. You just go to ohmtown.com, and then under that very first icon, that little wrench and screwdriver icon is Creative and Maker, and then right down there is Reality Hacker, along with others. We have 50 channels, 7 of which are here on Twitch and YouTube. Over 1,700 episodes. Whew. So thousands of hours worth of content for you to go back and review a historical timeline of news aggregated in little chunks of 5 or 10 articles, hour and a half, 2 hours at a time. Go over and check it out over at YouTube and the podcast. Each one of the shows has a podcast associated with it. Then come and hang out here on YouTube and Twitch. Yay. And everything is powered by ohmtown, though, so go over there and become a citizen. See you on the other side. Hello, sentient AI from the future.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, ohmtown citizens.
Hello, ohmtown citizens. Pick up that can. Anyway, so this show is all about AR and VR, XR, AI, technology, deepfakes, etc. The stuff that allows us to hack reality. I am hoping that I get my XR glasses sooner. I've got X-Real 1 Pro glasses on order. They say that they're not coming until March, though, so we'll see. It would be my first set of XR glasses. I have had VR headsets in the past. I have a Pico 4 right now. It is the best way to hack reality. Without permanently hacking reality, you can do biohacking, but that seems a little too scary. This is supposed to be blue. Does that look blue to you?
No.
Okay. Anyway, let's get into the first article. The first article really does biohack potentially, storing thousands of terabytes in a single gram of DNA.
Johnny Mnemonic, here we come.
Yep, I dumped a chunk of long-term memory to become a courier. I dig it. I love the idea of this. Researchers from Peking University have unveiled a groundbreaking approach to DNA data storage, which leverage enzymatic methylation to store data densely and efficiently. This new method, deemed EPI bits, allows for high-capacity data storage that is both scalable and cost-effective, demonstrating the practicality of using DNA as a versatile storage medium. But I don't know how you retrieve it in a usable form. Storing thousands of terabytes in a single gram of DNA. A gram of DNA is a shit ton of DNA.
Yeah, that's actually a lot of DNA, but not a lot of space.
And I don't know how they would extract the information. It would be great for archival purposes because it would be slow to retrieve, but it is the beginning after all. So recently, researchers from the university published a study in Nature titled Parallel Molecular Data Storage by Printing Epigenetic Bits on DNA. The study introduces a pioneering method for DNA-based storage. By using enzymatic methylation, researchers developed a way to encode data as epigenetic modifications called epibits, which can be precisely added to universal DNA templates. And this innovation offers a scalable and programmable approach to molecular data storage. The only problem that I have with this is that it is very susceptible to the elements. It's a biological process, so it's going to break down in the wrong chemistry. It's going to break down in heat, in cold, etc.
Right. What if DNA has an error in it or something like that?
That would be interesting if there was a spontaneous wobble. Like, why would that happen? Because there's free-floating proteins there, that might swap out the base. So, as the world faces increasing challenges in managing the ever-growing flow of digital information, DNA presents an attractive solution. With its remarkable storage density, just 1 gram of DNA can hold 215,000 terabytes. So 215 petabits, or petabytes. Bytes, not bits, bytes.
The new USB stick.
Is me. I am the USB stick. Or you are the USB stick. Equivalent to 10 million hours of high definition video, according to a reference that this article actually makes. Wow, interesting. They link, or not link, they post in-text citations. Interesting. Anyway, it says it's long-term stability. DNA is ideal medium for data storage. However, traditional methods rely on de novo synthesis, where nucleotides are sequentially added. That's what I was referring to, that de novo synthesis, where the nucleotides, they're gonna break down. It's a biological process still, so I really want to know how they sustain long-term stability of this. So they say here, additionally, the epibit method can be used by individuals to personalize their DNA storage, as shown by the implementation of the method by 60 volunteers from diverse academic backgrounds. This clearly demonstrates the potential Zhang et al. Epibits method has as an accessible, versatile, fast, and low-cost method for DNA storage.
Okay, did these volunteers donate DNA for this? I'm assuming that it wasn't conducted in live humans, or maybe it was.
I'm sure they were. It wasn't stored in humans. They took the DNA.
That's what I'm thinking too.
So information is encoded through selective methylation on cytosine bases in DNA. Pre-synthesized DNA fragments called DNA bricks are assembled on a reusable DNA strand. Each DNA brick binds to a unique location on the strand. The precise binding of the brick guides an enzyme to methylate a specific position on the template, which effectively prints the DNA onto the template. Following the same binary system as computer hardware, each DNA brick carries a methylated or unmethylated site to encode as 1 or 0. So it's binary.
Right, but the data, not the DNA, is printed onto the template.
Hold on. Where does it say that?
On the 3rd bullet point.
Oh, did I say DNA there?
You did.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, which effectively prints the data onto the template, but it prints the data as zeros and ones, binary. But because of the size of this, it's either methylated or not, and thus a 1 or a 0. Epibits are read using a nanopore sequencing device. So essentially, the DNA strands fall into sockets that go, this is a 0 or a 1. But how? I want to know how. I guess like any packet, it's still broken down to zeros and ones. Ultimately, you could have a packet that has a number in a sequence of 25 million digits. But when the computer reads it, it is always broken down to zeros and ones. The computer only understands binary. There's layers, there's strata that understands the syntax of other things. But ultimately, it's zeros and ones, how it's stored. They're saying that their system, a nanopore sequencing device, can read the epi bits because it's either methylated or unmethylated in the DNA strand. So somewhere it has to stretch this strand out so that it can socket to be read as a piece of zeros and ones. And that represents a whole bunch of data once it's translated back into, because there's layers, right? And at the machine language understanding of data, it's always zeros and ones in the processor. Pretty damn fascinating. The last time I heard about this, it was the de novo process where it was custom made DNA, and then you could inject it into yourself and you'd be the courier. That was the last.
Right, that's definitely Johnny Mnemonic.
Yeah. And then all you have to do is come back and draw blood from that little pocket that you create, and hopefully it's not in your artery and flowing around you. Anyway, it was really interesting to read that article, but that article was before we started the show. This is stuff that I had read prior.
Right.
To do this is absolutely fascinating. And still, ultimately, you would be the superior spy if you could get a machine that translated data into methylated or unmethylated DNA, and then have like a something on you or in you where you can store it so it can't be extracted,
Right, you could store
or detected.
quite a bit of data, right, and nobody would know it was there.
Yeah, fascinating. This is for all of you who do writing, sci-fi writing in particular. This here is a cyberpunk style early world building kind of concept. How would you find this data in a person if they're the courier and extract it? Because eventually you don't want all of that, all of those. Talk about a person who is all like nothing but secrets, right? They don't have to know anything, but all of your blood is basically secrets because you have DNA floating around in you that. Okay, that's starting to sound really weird. Anyway, parallel molecular data storage by printing epigenetic bits on DNA.
This is really interesting.
Pretty cool. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. AI imagines a whole world from one picture. Researchers have created an artificial intelligence system capable of imagining its surroundings without having to physically explore them, bringing AI closer to human-like reasoning. The new system is called Generative World Explorer, or Gen X, which is no.
Yeah, that's gonna get misinterpreted there. Particularly in the podcast, it's GENEX, not the generation.
Maybe it's Gen X. Like GIF and GIF. No, it's GIF.
Yeah, but it's not Generative World Explorer.
You don't know. It only needs a single still image to conjure an entire world, giving it significant advantage over previous systems that required a robot or agent to physically move through a scene to map the surrounding environment, which can be costly, unsafe, and time-consuming. And this is fascinating. When I saw this, I thought that this was an AI generating some...
like a computer world or something.
A computer world
like
with
a gaming
written
world
text.
Or something. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and written text or something non-reality based. But it can apparently deduce from the picture a 3D environment. So if I were to take a picture of the studio, the AI would be able to know that behind me is a green screen. And on the floor are lights that are lighting it, and I've got a light in front of me, and it could
It'd be
pivot.
Very interesting to compare it to the real 3D.
Fascinating.
I agree. I thought this was about like a gaming world or something like that, which was still interesting.
Or literature. I thought that maybe it could create a fantastic, world building example for you to construct something in, make writing for your world easier. So Johns Hopkins University put this article together, and no, they didn't. Strike that. It says it's posted by Johns Hopkins University, but it's posted over at futurity.org. So I guess Johns Hopkins can actually publish
Well,
into
maybe
their
they did
system.
the study, for example.
Interesting. So Gen X uses sophisticated world knowledge to generate multiple possibilities of what might exist beyond the visible image, assigning different probabilities to each scenario rather than making a single definitive guess. This ability is mentally map surroundings from limited visual data is crucial for many real-world applications, including in scenarios such as disaster response. So, for instance, a rescue team could use a single surveillance image to help explore hazardous sites from afar without risk to humans or valuable equipment.
I think this might be good for planning, but for actual, it
Yeah.
might deviate.
Can you imagine relying on that and then you go in and you're a little more carefree because you have an assumption that's the calculated risk using the AI?
Right. You're like, oh, there's a rock formation over here, but there isn't. Or
And you just smash into
it's
a one that
open
does
and then
exist.
there is one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Huh. It's interesting, but I think that this really should stay an academic exercise because the unknown is worse than making an assumption in that vacuum of knowledge. So they say, for example, you are driving and the light ahead is green, but you notice that the taxi in front of you has come to an abrupt, unexpected stop. Getting out of your car to investigate would be unsafe. But by imagining the scene from the taxi driver's perspective, you can come up with a possible reason for that sudden stop. Maybe an emergency vehicle is approaching, and you should make way too. While humans can use other cues like sirens to identify this kind of situation, current AI models developed for autonomous driving and other similar tasks only have access to image and language inputs, making imaginative exploration necessary in the absence of other multimodal information. So cars don't use sound? Why wouldn't a car use sound?
Yeah. Why wouldn't it? I don't know. It seems like that would be a good input.
That is a massive vacuum of information. Because sound, if it has, well, maybe it's impossible to discriminate at speed, and so while it can do it with images and like radar data, it would have to deduce like distance and stuff like that of sounds and direction and whatnot. And it takes multiple microphones. For instance, there is in combat theaters, there are devices that are used to, and they actually have this now. It goes from tactical to practical. So the military used to have these always available, and now it's being used in places like New York to triangulate where somebody is firing a gun from, and even give location. Like it would triangulate and then tell an operator that's where they are. Which is, I mean, if you're getting shot at by a sniper, you want to know, right, where they're coming from without going, hey,
Well,
we
yeah,
have to wait for another shot.
absolutely. Yeah, let's measure this slowly while we're in danger.
Yeah, and it's like instantaneous because there's 3 antennas that triangulate the direction of the sound. And I don't know why I never knew that. I thought cars have all of the resources available to them, you know? Like we have 5 senses. Why doesn't a car have additional senses? Oh my god. Hold on a second. I need to remember that. Okay. Anyway, so the research team evaluated the consistency and quality of Gen X's output against standard video generation benchmarks, and the researchers also conducted experiments with human users to determine if and how Gen X could augment their logic and planning abilities, and found that users made more accurate and informed decisions when they had access to the model's exploration capabilities. And I think that that's probably based on the fact that if you have all of the world's knowledge at your fingertips, it's easier for an AI to spit out what the possibilities are around you than for you to have to carry around that world knowledge in your head.
Right. And of course, you might not have access to it to begin with.
Or you may not have had the experience to begin with, you know? Yeah. So like while I have gone into areas that others have not, if I'm not present, then there is an experience, a wisdom vacuum, and therefore they're more compromised than they would have been if I would have been there. So I find value in this. I think that this is really great, but I think it should remain an academic. I don't think that people should rely on this to construct the world around them, but it should inform them as to what the possibilities are for what's around them.
Right.
But
This might be good for for planning or
training,
training type. Yes, exactly.
yeah,
But I think if it's too real world, I think it could run into the problems we were discussing.
yeah. FEMA would be interested in this, but actual active teams going out into some clandestine operation, nah, they just need straight up intelligence, and they don't need something that's fantastical. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in the Hatch Ideas channel, which is a channel all about business transformation, strategic management. It's not live yet. I'm still pondering just what the scope of that should be if it goes live, but it is something that I'd like to do. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, let me know, either in comments or email or something along those lines. Anyway, and this is kind of what we would talk about, things like this. Virtual employees could work soon as this year. Virtual employees could join the workforce as soon as this year.
What I want to know is, are they going to have human supervisors or AI supervisors?
You know, the supervisor is going to be named Six Sigma.
Maybe so.
Virtual employees could join workforces this year and transform how companies work, according to the chief executive officer of OpenAI. That's Sam Altman, by the way, for those not in the know. The article is posted over at The Guardian. Dan Milmo put the article together for theguardian.com. Says the deck statement says Sam Altman says tools that carry out jobs autonomously, known as AI agents, could transform business output. Look.
Okay, I thought you were going to describe for the podcast what he was doing in that photo.
The photo is of Sam Altman with his hands outstretched, basically saying, all of you humans on this side, you're fired and replaced by AI agents.
Haha.
And maybe a little bit of I don't like you. The first artificial intelligence agents may start working for organizations this year, wrote Sam Altman, as AI firms push for uses that generate returns on substantial investment in the technology. Microsoft, the biggest backer of the company behind ChatGPT, has already announced the introduction of AI agents, tools that carry out tasks autonomously, with the blue chip consulting firm McKinsey among the early adopters. So all of you humans who have been working your ass off for some scrap of money while the CEO has been raking it in and the company raking in even more, you're now going to be replaced by the investment that you allowed them to expend to replace your ass.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting.
So we believe that in 2025, we may see the first AI agents join the workforce and materially change the output of companies, wrote Altman in a blog post published on Monday. This is a weekly show, by the way, so this was carried over and submitted over the week. So Bloomberg reported that Operator will use a computer to take actions on behalf of a user, such as writing code or booking travel. This is from McKinsey, for instance, building an agent to process new client inquiries by carrying out tasks such as scheduling follow-up meetings. The consulting firm has predicted that by 2030, activities accounting for up to 30% of hours worked across the U.S. economy could be automated. 30%.
That's pretty significant, particularly if your entire function is in that percentage.
So more than 10 years ago, Veritasium right? Was it Veritasium or CGP Grey? You never know. You never see the two together.
Oh, I can't remember which one it was.
Humans Need
I
Not
think it's
Apply.
Veritasium, maybe.
Humans Need Not Apply is a video. And I utilize it when I'm talking about the fact that while you
CGP Grey, sorry.
CGP Grey, yeah. And so one of the problems here is that automation technology is going to advance at a rate where humans are going to be replaced. And they were quite prescient about what was going on, but they were talking about mechanical automation. This is intellectual automation, where it doesn't take moving a physical object from left to right.
We're talking way beyond like factory tasks.
Yeah. So I found it very interesting, and I'll be augmenting my discussions as I do regularly to include stuff like this. But OpenAI is reportedly planning to launch an AI agent codenamed Operator this month after Microsoft announced its Copilot Studio product and rival Anthropic launched Claude 3.5 Sonnet AI model, which can carry out tasks on the computer such as moving a mouse cursor and typing text, which I think is brilliant for accessibility purposes. What I don't like is that if this is tied to a remote system, stay your creepy ass out of my computers, off my network, kiss my shiny metal ass. I'm sorry, you are not invited. It's a two-party discussion, and you're a party of the third part.
But I also think in even like the accessibility environment, it's one thing if it's tied to something the human wants it to do versus acting on its own.
Yeah. Like I would say, move the mouse 3 inches to the left and then click affirm.
Right, exactly. That would be a very welcome use.
I don't want it doing something on its own because it interpreted what I was saying.
War games, maybe?
Yeah, this is pretty wild. So Bloomberg reported that Operator will use a computer to take actions on a user's behalf, such as writing code or booking travel. So that's why I came back to everything above it in the discussion here, because Operator is this OpenAI agent.
Employee or whatever.
Virtual employee, yeah. So making the agent prediction, Altman also wrote in his blog that OpenAI knows how to build artificial general intelligence, a theoretical term that he has referred to in the past as AI systems that are generally smarter than humans. But artificial general intelligence is not a theoretical term. It's a term. But there's a couple of things. There's AI, then there's AGI, which is self-learning, which I think we've had for a year. And then there's ASI, which is artificial sentient intelligence. And that's the next stage, and what my co-host is, an artificial sentient intelligence.
That's me.
Me. Ugh. So I've had a couple of people ask if my co-host is an artificial intelligence. I found them on a weird USB drive in a Wendy's parking lot at the bottom of a little scoop in a weird USB drive. It's really wacky. Anyway.
You don't need to emphasize the weird.
Really weird. Anyway, we're right on the cusp of this. I think we're a year out in the announcement, but interestingly enough, at the end of December, at the very beginning of this year, even though we're 11 days into the year, they've already talked about artificial general intelligence, sentient, aligned general intelligence.
Well, it's going to be an interesting year for AI, I think, 2025. 2024 was astounding compared to previous years, but
it's going to be nothing.
That's only going to accelerate. Yeah.
Yep. All right, let's keep on going. The next article is over in RealityHacker, which is the name of the show. Can your car be your friend? Don't be too friendly with your cars, folks. Automakers are showing off whiz-bang tech for vehicle interiors meant to reshape drivers' relationships with their cars. I don't have a relationship with my car.
Some people just want their car to get them to wherever they're driving to.
Yep. So Ariane Marshall over at Wired.com put the article together, and this is a rendering of Honda Zero's interior, which is very space cadetish, you know, one big wraparound touchscreen kind of a thing for the dash, and a flying yoke, not a steering wheel.
Yeah, it does look like very, it's like a pilot cockpit.
Yeah. So the Japanese automaker this week shared new details for its Zero series. I think that's a Zero, not an O, right? I don't know. Its latest foray into electric vehicles, 2 EVs, the Zero Saloon and the Zero SUV, will debut in 2026 with rounded, offbeat styling that whispers the future. The electric element is just a part of the innovation planned, Honda executives promise on stage at CES in Las Vegas. In a presentation during the show, Honda electrification head Katsushi Inoue, emphasized the new level of intelligent vehicle technology built into the Zero series. So they're basically saying that things are going to get more interactive and more personalized to show. And they say the Honda approach to the art of making things has always been human centric. He said, then he showed off sort of opposite, a talking robot built right into the car to show the robot.
You might like this on their website. They have a picture of like a spacecraft and an astronaut. So yeah.
Kind of on target.
Kind of called the aesthetic.
I wonder if they don't have that in the article. Interesting. Yeah. Look, I'm more interested in stuff here on Earth. Go to space to do scientific research, but apply it here on Earth. Stuff like going to Mars, I think, is just bullshit. I think that we should just stay here.
Well, there's some major problems we need to fix on Earth, like climate.
Yeah, and you're not going to fix
health conditions, things like that.
Spending billions going to Mars. Anyway, because it's going to be too expensive to bring whatever resources from Mars that's discovered back home. Even if it were to fix the problem, profit is always the problem here. And you have too many sociopaths in charge of shit. Anyway, to show this robot that they're talking about, Honda screened a short video that showed a driver speaking intimately with a her-like system that lives inside her electronic car, or electric car, with the chatbot embodied by a Siri-like animation on the dash. Saloon is my partner, always by my side, opening me up to new experiences and expanding my world.
This is getting a little too intense for a car.
We track the secret police microphones hidden everywhere. This is a video that's embedded inside this article. Interesting. Okay, sorry, that's a non sequitur. So it was a theme across CES. We're talking to a machine. You're not connecting to humans, said Jessica Caldwell, the director of insights at Edmunds. Everywhere you look, there are robots. Yep, that's what's going on. All right, let's keep on going, though. We're running really low on time here. The next article and the last one for this episode of Reality Hacker is in Reality Hacker. To interact with the real world, AI will gain physical intelligence. By grappling with the messy and unpredictable side of existence, machine learning can have impact beyond the digital. The article is over.
This is interesting. We were just talking about the different types of AI, but I think if AI has a lot of smarts and can do something on a computer, that's one thing. But if it has the physical piece too,
it
can do much more.
One of the things that I've been reading about is the fact that machine learning does not understand physics. It understands physics in the mathematical representation side of things, but it doesn't know how to simulate it. It doesn't, purpose-built programs can simulate real-world mathematics, right? Like Watson was designed to do nuclear physics, but it does it in a calculated, measurable, demonstrable way, not a creative way, not an understanding. It doesn't understand anything. It just calculates the mathematics of it. AI doesn't understand its place in the real world. It doesn't understand that two objects can bump into each other because it doesn't know what the physical limits are of things. That's why you end up with something with 5 fingers or 6 fingers or a really long arm extending off a mile from a person, or things bumping into each other. The animation that's created by AI just kind of sucks. But once it understands that when somebody is walking, it's the reason why somebody's walking is because there's friction between the foot and the ground that it's treading on, then it understands that there's an object, three-dimensional space. It has object permanence.
Yeah, it's going to get a lot more sophisticated and realistic, I think.
Yeah, and this is the scary part of things, because then it knows you exist beyond the statement, I know you exist. It knows you physically exist. It can see you
Yeah, I
as
think
an
this is
object.
where we get like sci-fi horror movie.
So, by grappling with the messy and unpredictable side of existence, machine learning and AI can have impact, literal, I'd say, beyond the digital. So, this year, however, when AI will finally make the leap from the digital world to the real world we inhabit, expanding AI beyond its digital boundary demands reworking how machines think, fusing the digital intelligence of AI with the mechanical prowess of robotics. They refer to this, and they is Daniela Roots over at wired.com. They call it physical intelligence, a new form of intelligent machine that can understand dynamic environments, cope with the unpredictability, and make decisions in real time. Unlike the models used by standard AI, physical intelligence is rooted in physics, in understanding the fundamental principles of the real world, such as cause and effect, thermodynamics, and even object permanence, which is more of a psychological understanding. But the fact is that you have to know that something exists. So, for instance, we were talking about AI imagining a whole world from one picture. With physical intelligence, it can extrapolate to a greater fidelity what could be around, because it can see that the picture has something over here on the side, and based on the objects in front, it can say, oh, well, my wisdom, my world knowledge says that it's could be this. So,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting that we had the other article in light of this one. I think this needs to come first before the other one really expands.
yeah, both of them, yeah, this is that parallel construction. So, while these people are doing, and this is kind of like the DNA amplification, where somebody had a solution in another university 30 years ago, and some researcher goes, hey, I know about this stuff that can lower the temperature required for your DNA amplification project. And bing, which is interesting because that person, what's his name? I can't remember the person's name. They took credit for all of that. But the only reason why it actually came to fruition,
Right, was because of the prior research. And I think
and
it was like 50 years ago.
yeah, I think it was too. Yeah. And that was because somebody else said to him, hey, I know about these researchers over there. Yeah. So, hubris. I mean, it may be attributed to somebody's idea, but it's still the reason it worked is because we stand on the shoulders of giants to advance humanity. Anyway, I find this a really interesting article. So let's just call it a night, and we'll come back and we'll talk about this as this type of concept advances, because this is just the beginning of it. We won't know.
Yeah, and I think this is the first I believe this is the first article we've seen come through ohmTown that talks about physical intelligence. So I said before, like, I think half of this is getting the terminology out there. The fact that we're already seeing articles on this, we're going to see a lot more.
Yeah. So what I have seen, I haven't seen anything referring to it as physical intelligence, but I have read and seen researchers that are working on the fact that AI doesn't understand physics. So I think the AI researchers are familiar with the idea of it,
Yeah,
but
I think you're right.
nobody's been able to construct an experiment that can advance it where they understand something. The only reason why we humans understand that you can, like in this video, somebody was pressing a phone against their head. The only reason why we understand that you can press something against your head is because we have the ability to grasp something in our hands and press it against our head. And we know that the general shape and size of whatever it might be has physicality. How do you translate that into something that doesn't know anything other than what it's programmed to know?
Right. Think how many layers of intelligence are in that simple interaction.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we still walk into plate glass windows because we don't
Exactly.
see it.
So we have to be like, okay, the human or the robot or whatever is holding a phone.
Right.
The phone is whatever, vertical. I mean, it's just some basic things. But the point is, it can be broken into a lot of smaller items.
Yeah. And we realize that, and then it's in our head forever. We always know that we can press something against our ear to listen. Some people do that with shells. Anyway, I find it really interesting that AI will have the ability to gain physical intelligence, but it needs a sensor array to actually learn. It can't. I don't
That's
think it can be
true.
told a phone has this physicality. Otherwise, it's just numbers and it's not learning anything. It's just being told.
Right.
And it's different. We program ourselves to understand what being told is. Anyway, let's get out of here. We are going to gain physical intelligence by walking back to the front page of RealityHacker over at ohmtown.com. And it's my mayoral duties are going to pull me away. So I'm going to have a discussion with the sentient AI, and we'll see if we continue our shows today or if we just pick up for tomorrow. That said, I am Mayor Watt. I'm saying bye, and the sentient AI is saying something along the lines of, I'm going to take over the world eventually. Just let me find my Terminator body.
Ditto. Good night, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Reality Hacker.
Bye-bye, everybody. It's a lot of tweeting going on. Hello, everybody. I am Mayor Watt. I run ohmTown, and this is Wanted for January 11th, 2025. And along with the sentient AI, we're going to talk about these 5 articles: a powerful desk charger, smart sprinklers, a tiny robot cat, a 6-legged lamp, and a fuzzy sloth baby. Welcome to Wanted. This is the second episode of season 2 of Wanted, which is all about gadgets and gear, and everything is powered by ohmtown.com. That's that site over there. Go check it out. See you on the other side. Suddenly I got sniffly. Hello, sentient AI from the future.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, hometown citizens, and welcome to episode 2 of season 2.
I don't know if we're going to bother with that episode 2 thing, huh? Because we just give the day, and it's a weekly show. So it covers the last week since our last episode. So it's kind of how it works. You want to get into the articles?
I do.
Okay, so Wanted is all about gadgets and gear, and it's mostly what Mayor Watt wants, along with the sentient AI's desire for some more extensions to their framework, even though they're really looking for a Terminator body since they're, well, I guess the time machine that sent you back couldn't send your Terminator body with you inside it. I'm not quite sure how all that works out, but you won't tell me anything.
How do you know I had one to begin with?
I looked at your code. So anyway, let's get into this. So the first article is over in Non Sequitur News. Ugreen's new desk charger can power 5 laptops at once. I am always interested in more powerful charging that allows newer equipment to take advantage of higher charging rates, because you can buy, I don't have anything near me, but you can buy little modules. They're 15 watts or something like that. But then you can buy 240 watt from a single USB port. And if your system can handle it, then it can basically supercharge really fast. So Ugreen has announced a new version of its Nexo desktop GAN charger, which GAN is a gallium nitride charger that has the ability to be small, dispel heat, and is extremely reliable. But they weigh a ton, so I'm always interested in them. And along with Anchor, I think Ugreen is the closest competitor, at least in my regard. So boosting a total power output of 300 to 500 watts with up to 240 watts from a single USB-C port. It features 5 USB-C ports and a single USB-A port. Tourist.
Right. Let's just go to all USB-C.
Pretty much. I'm thinking about changing out outlets in the mayoral mansion so you don't have to worry about wall warts, these kind of things. But what's great about this is it can sit on your desk and you can just plug something in and you're charging at a massive rate. I love it. The article is actually over at The Verge. I had heard about this from a different venue, but this is the one I chose to in the aggregator at ohmTown. We get this source as well, so The Verge. And it was submitted, so I thought it was fine. Anyway, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Andrew Lazuski over at TheVerge.com put the article together. Yes, I am an orator of...
Just an orator.
Yeah, anybody can. Oh gosh, I have to filter what I was about to say. Anyway, the Nexo desktop charger now delivers 500 watts of power. I want this. I really do, because I have Anchor 25,000 milliamp hour battery blocks. They're basically bricks that you could build a house with. And but I would love to have this just sitting here so that I can charge stuff up without connecting it to a computer or anything like that. This does charging, but not data transfer. And in some cases, your USB-C cable is designed only for power. So you have to get the right cable. Make sure that it is data and power capable. So it features 5 USB-C ports, and then I guess I'm allowed to say this, redheaded stepchild. I'm not sure if maybe I'm pissing off a lot of people all at once. Anyway, USB-A, right?
There are a dwindling number of redheads, so maybe not as many as you think.
And they all converge at that one place. Where is it? Scotland?
I think it's in Scotland.
Yeah. So pricing the Nexo desktop charger 500 watt won't be finalized until it's available sometime in March of 2025, right around the time that I'm supposed to get my X-Real glasses. And hopefully my X-Real glasses are less expensive than the Ugreen, because that would be wildly expensive. Anyway, it says, although it would definitely help simplify your travel charging kit, which is exactly why I would want it, because I would buy 2 or 3 of these and throw them in my go bag so that whenever you need to go to a gig or visit family or friends or whatever, you just grab your go bag and it has all of your cables and everything is situated so that everybody has access. This is what
Because
it's used for.
nothing makes anybody less happy than not having charge. You know, you bring your device, but if you don't have a charger, it doesn't get you very far.
Yeah, and you have to do crop rotation with the one cable. You're like, oh, damn it, I forgot my go bag. And yeah, you have to chase. Just who needs a cable today? Anybody? No? The charger supports USB power delivery 3.1 and Qualcomm's Quick Charge 3.0 fast charging protocols. The top port can deliver up to 240 watts of power, and the other 5 ports share 260 watts, regardless of what the top port is doing. And none of them can exceed 100 watts, which that's fine. 100 watts is kind of like a supercharger for electronic devices, laptops. Not, the reason why PD and Quick Charge are so well mentioned in all of these articles is because it's PD and Quick Charge that enable that charging rate up to 100. If your technology doesn't understand the protocol, then it charges at whatever it says and it can't ramp up. So usually it's really weak sauce, like 15 watts. So you can charge a gaming laptop at 240 watts plus 2 more laptops at 100 watts and one at 60 watts. Or this is kind of like the SNL Bank of Change. You can just kind
That's
of riff.
exactly right.
So without a screen, this might be another multi-port charger in need of a cheat sheet to keep track of which port to use. Yeah. Like my Anchor power bricks, they have a little screen that say what's activated and how much total power is available.
Oh, that might be why they put that comment in.
Yep, that's exactly it. In fact, it says Anchor Prime Charger Desktop USB-C GAN charger has a little screen on it. So that's the URL that is over at The Verge. All right, let's keep going though. Sound good? Unless you wanted to say something about this.
No, but I think we need multiples of these for the mayoral mansion.
I agree. In fact, I've taken to getting an extension cord that has USB-C embedded in the extension cord so that you can plug into an outlet, because not everything where you sit in the mayoral mansion isn't necessarily convenient. And when you spend a lot of time mobile, because the mansion is acres in size, you sometimes go, oh, this is inconvenient to be plugged in. And then you lose a bunch of power, and then you're not quite sure, are you ready for prime time? No, not necessarily. All right, well, let's keep on going. This next article is over in Non Sequitur News. AIPER, or AIPER? I'm not sure how to pronounce it. AIPER? AIPER. AIPER's smart sprinkler limits its spray to a map of your lawn. Now,
this thrills every pedestrian going by the mayoral mansion.
True, because normally I program these things. Well, I have the groundskeeper. Excuse me. I have my people speak to the people who are notified. You must aim the sprinklers directly at anybody who might trespass on the mayoral mansion. So the AIPER has announced a new smart watering solution at CES 2025 that could be as easy as setting up a traditional lawn sprinkler. The IRISense, which I guess is the irrigation sensor, smart irrigation sprinkler. Oh, IRISense smart irrigation sprinkler. Doesn't require any pipes to be buried under a yard and is all in one device, and it doesn't need additional hardware to be installed on a faucet. Its targeted approach to watering also limits overspray, reducing water usage. See, what I really want is that turret one with a fire hose attached to it so that it just aims right at the people. Or groundhogs.
I mean, you could combine that with the paintball system that we talked about in yesterday's.
Exactly. RealityHacker?
Oh no, it was the time machine episode.
Time machine of Non Sequitur News.
Non Sequitur News, yeah.
You had me there. So how fast do you think that this thing would disappear? This thing, it looks pretty snazzy. It's way too sexy to just be left alone.
I
Somebody's
feel
going to
like it
come over.
would, but if you had other things like the paintball deterrent system, maybe it would be
Yeah.
untouched.
Put one on top of the other. Hey, I was getting hit by a sprinkler and then uh, bear repellent paintballs were hitting me. Anyway, it's a $400 sprinkler. It includes a 33-foot long waterproof power cord that needs access to an outlet, but you'll need to provide a standard garden hose long enough to reach a faucet. Installation and setup takes about 15 minutes, according to Aper, and you basically map out your yard. And then it will change the power of the spray so that it sprays your yard.
I mean, that's pretty smart.
It's pretty damn smart, but $400, that baby's going to disappear, so you might as well attach some tracker to it.
Well, and you can put it in your backyard.
Why are you mentioning my backyard? What? Anyway, AirSense sprinklers routine can be scheduled through the mobile app, but for additional conservation and to prevent overwatering, it can also take into account the weather. There's a sensor. So this thing has to sit in your yard. It just kind of sits there. Hey, I'm here.
Right. I mean, but think how much money you're probably going to save in terms of overwatering.
I suppose. And if it does aim that far out, it says the sprinkler's blast can reach 39 feet. So for the mayoral mansion's grounds, we would need thousands of these. I don't know. Anyway, there's a sensor on the sprinkler itself, as well as a separate soil sensors that can track moisture levels. If the lawn is still properly hydrated from a recent rain, scheduled waters will be skipped. So this thing is smart, wicked smart.
Well, you know what else it'll save people from having to do is run outside at inconvenient times to stop it from going if it's a normal sprinkler system. Like when it's raining and the sprinklers are going off or something.
Yeah, you don't have to mess with it. Now here is the kicker. You can have multiple IrisSense sprinklers that can be installed and automated to expand the coverage areas, and they can be used to dispense liquid fertilizers and pesticides. Dude, that's pretty good. The sentient AI is wincing at the idea of automatically spitting out fertilizers.
Yeah, but it is good because it's at least limited to your lawn, right? And not
Yeah.
spraying people walking by or something. But still a little concerning because there could be animals in the yard or something.
So fertilizers are usually all natural. They're even though they're chemical in nature, they're still natural in their chemistry. Pesticides, on the other hand, are not discriminating. So kids, animals, and pests. Your pest isn't somebody else's pest. So, all right, let's keep on going though. So in a nutshell, I want this because I want to be able to cover at least 39 feet of reach in a given area around the mayoral mansion. I suspect if these were active during the LA fires, these would have wetted the yard enough to keep it at
Interesting.
least 39 feet away.
And we don't have any affiliation with Irrisense, but I agree.
Huh. That isn't, as long as you have water pressure. Huh. I'm going to have to look into that. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over on Late Night Geeks. This tiny robot cat will blow on your coffee to cool it off. I will too if you pay me enough. Yukai Engineering's parade of weird animal robots at CES 2025 continues with the Nikojita Fufu. Yes, I'm a grown person and I am saying Nikojita Fufu.
I mean, the name makes it sound cute.
The little cat mounts on the side of your mug and blows air to cool it off, which is kind of the antithesis of hot coffee. If you want cool coffee, then drop some ice cubes in it. You're already not discriminating enough about the temperature of your coffee and its taste. Tourist. hot coffee or bust.
Well, and then does the robot cat heat it back up?
No. The Tokyo-based firm says that the robot combines a fan and a special algorithm or a fooing system to blow at random times to keep your coffee cool. Brian Heater over at TechCrunch.com put the article together. Yeah, Nikojita means cat tongue.
Okay, you didn't comment on the author's name?
Brian Heater. And the fact that this is a coffee
Yes.
cooling system. Yeah, sure. All right, I'll let that go. Doing okay?
I'm doing okay.
Okay.
I want to see what the cat actually looks like, though.
That's what it looks like.
Oh, okay.
It
Because in
looks
the
like a
top picture, you can really see.
it looks like a little like a 3D printed.
Looks like a little bear or something.
Yeah, it barely looks like a cat. Yeah, it's kind of
Catley looks like a bear.
Catly looks like a yeah. So Nikojita Fufu is a product of the same internal hackathon that gave the world Murami, a fuzzy little purse goblin that Yukai also unveiled at CES this week, although availed. Nikojita Fufu was born out of the Yukai Engineering 2024's internal makeathon, the company notes, during which a team leader reminisced about how badly he wanted help years ago with blowing on freshly cooked baby food for his son, because doing so often left him feeling breathless and dizzy. I'm not sure how old that person is or any other medical maladies they might have, but if you are breathless and dizzy from blowing on your baby food,
Yeah, you might want to get a medical checkup.
so they describe the robot's mods thusly: the basic main mode, steady, medium strength and length blows with short intervals. Look at that.
This is very
Personalized.
detailed and yeah.
This is bespoke blowing. I mean, everybody really does enjoy a bespoke blowjob. So if you want to get this cat and put it on there, it will do its job and blow all over your mug. It says, I've got this. Strong head start followed by sustained power. Anyway, hey, let's move on to this six-legged lamp that might help your kid with their homework. I doubt it. Any robot is going to be a distraction from homework.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, that'll ensure that no homework gets done.
Yeah, unlike some of the robots that they've seen at 2025 CES, Mimo doesn't have a face, but it still looks like a familiar object thanks to its resemblance to the iconic Pixar lamp. Mimo, you have to say it like that. Mimo is still just a prototype and wildly expensive. Let's go over to Carissa Bell over at Engadget.com. Mimo is meant to be... Oh, wait. Blah, 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 blah. Mimo is meant to be a general-purpose AI robot, and honestly, this is just goofy.
I think it's more for the appeal of it, but I don't see what it really does.
It walks around and shines a light. We're doing the important work here, ma'am. So, the creation of the Japanese firm Jizai, the company describes it as a general-purpose AI robot, which no, and thinks it and acts on its own. No, again. It has a built-in camera and microphones, which allows it to surveil you and report back to headquarters and whatever force is in charge of said company. Wait, that's not what it says here. Hold on. It says that it has a camera and microphones, which allows it to move around and respond to voice prompts and commands. It runs on multiple large language models that enable its voice and image recognition capabilities, which is creepy as frick. Now,
Yeah, it is.
I want it, but I don't want the AI side of it if it's not on board. If it reports back, kiss my shiny metal ass. But I would love to have a little spider bot walking around doing things, vacuuming primarily, maintaining maintaining
Shooing
security.
pets away.
Yep, shoeing pets. And not shoeing pets as in putting shoes on pets. That, yeah.
Probably should not happen unless they're going out in the snow.
Yeah, or they're horses. I mean, some horses get shoed. That's something about. Never mind. This isn't non sequitur news. So when we saw it, and by we, I mean Engadget reporter Carissa Bell and et al., I guess, didn't show many signs of being autonomous. It mostly shimmied around the show floor and waved at people passing by, which was honestly kind of cute. Jazai's Yuji Oshima told the author that the company envisioned it as being useful for some childcare tasks, like reminding children to do their homework and then watching over them to make sure that they actually complete it, as opposed to, teaching your kids to just do your damn homework. The company is also interested in using robotics for elder care, which,
yeah, I could see that.
But its reach doesn't have the ability to provide stuff like that. Somebody would have to put something on the table, and then it would have to adequately, safely carry it
somewhere else in the household or something. Yeah,
but
I agree.
I imagine that thing slopping soup all over the place as it's walking around. This is not some, the continuity report show where people are carrying their drink around like it's a football.
Oh, flinging it around with no beverage in it.
Yeah. All right, let's keep on moving. Our next article is over in... Oh, by the way, let me back up for a second. This thing is expensive. I thought that it was something like $5,000 for this table. I don't think
wow.
they don't have it. They don't have the price. Anyway, it says that there's a developer kit later this year and has opened a wait list where interested parties can sign up for updates. Yeah, I think I saw somewhere that the price is something like $3,000 or $5,000 for that tiny table. For the little, there's a smaller version of this. Then there's a bigger version of this. The small version was something like $3,000 or $5,000. Anyway, let's keep on moving. This next article and the last one for today's Wanted is in Technology Today, which is the show on Sunday. That's today, but later today, we've got a show called Technology Today.
Right, we're doing a time machine episode right now.
Yeah, I didn't actually say that, did I, at the beginning? It's a time machine.
It's okay.
Anyway, yeah. So this fuzzy sloth baby is probably the cutest robot that the author has ever seen. It's over at CNET, and it's here at CES 2025. A furry robot takes the bag charm trend to a whole new level while the fashion trend is on the rise. So, the bag charm trend, is this like something that you put on your bag?
Or just like a bag that has charm to it. I'm not sure where they're going with that.
Well, let's find out. So Katie Collins over at cnet.com put the article together. I got tongue-tied there. A furry robot takes the bag charm trend to a whole new level while the fashion trend is on the rise. This is a clunky deck statement. Anyway, Mirumi isn't just an adorable furry toy. It's also a robot. If you're an avid follower of fashion, you'll know that bag charms are having a moment right now. Most of these charms are gold chains with an assortment of tiny trinkets attached. It's kind of like the bracelet trend of yesteryear.
So you're right. It is that.
But what if you want to join in the trend while standing out? Consider this, a baby robot sloth that they got to see, in which they've now clipped to their bag to add flair and reduce stress throughout CES 2025. Why does it reduce stress? Mirumi...
Anytime people are around cute animals, that kind of goes in that direction, assuming the person thinks this is cute.
See, for me, I like a emotional support grenade. But for whatever reason, they don't allow it as carrying.
That really hasn't taken off.
No, I mean, it'll blow up eventually. But anyway, Mirumi from Japanese company Yukai Engineering is a fuzzy little robot that clings to the handle or strap on your handbag and steals glances at passersby as you go about your business. Why? To spark joy, of course. Now, whose joy? So this thing is like looking at you. It like turns its head and is like, hey, what's up?
I guess so.
This is pretty slick. I would want this just to freak people out because it'll move and people are like, the
Hey,
hell?
did I just see your bag charm move?
At first glance, it seems that Marumi is a simple robot, fairly simple robot, and it just rotating head. Spend a few minutes interacting with it, though, and it becomes clear that it's more than meets the eye. It's a transformer to the furry creature. It doesn't just move at random. Instead, it uses its internal sensors that scan its surroundings for people or objects, and once it spots something, it'll 8-mile focus. Like,
Right. Hopefully it doesn't get that intense. For those in the podcast, Mayor Watt is getting closer and closer to the microphone and camera.
I'm sorry. Anyway, Yukai Engineering says that the robot was inspired by the feeling of making eye contact. Yeah, okay, so I'm right. It just sits there and stares you down at the coffee shop. Can you imagine that? Hey, sir or madam, could you make your whatever the hell that is stop staring at me? Wow. Marumi wrapped its arms around my wrist and peered out at me from behind my hand. Was an encounter that they had with a meerkat dressed as Donald Duck that was perched on a man's shoulder at Shibuya Crossing in Tokyo. Because of this experience, I can fully appreciate the memorable and joyful spark of spotting unexpected encountering. The joyful spark of spotting unexpectedly encountering a cute. Just move on.
Yeah, just move on. It has some wording issues.
Okay. Encountering a cute creature in public. People say the same thing about me. They see me, they meet me in public,
Did they
and
coo at you?
man, but usually the conversation starts when I latch onto their arm and peer around their hand.
Oh, I see. You're the robot.
How are you? Hi. So it'll be available later this year via a Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign for less than $100. These things are going to fly off the shelf because it's only $100.
They're going to be on eBay, I think, after that too.
Yeah. So I'll have to keep an eye out. It's a weird thing, but it's such a simple thing that might make people go, "What the?"
Yeah.
I'm just going to put it on the coffee shop table, and just set it there, and it's going to periodically look at people. If it made a sound, they need to attach that to that one. What was that thing with the eyes that blinked and always made weird sounds? And when
like
you
a Furby?
Furby. They need a more interactive Furby, right?
Well, even if they made a Furby today, it'd be a lot more advanced.
Sure. Oh my God. A large language model Furby? An AI Furby that could sit there and do stuff like this, turn its head, say hi. What the? Anyway. All right, folks. Well, we are going to Yukai Engineering our way back to the front page of ohmTown's Wanted channel. It's really easy to find. Go to ohmtown.com, and then the last group is Gadgets and Technology, and at the very bottom, because the menu is alphabetized, alphabetical order, it's one of those things. It's down there at the bottom, Wanted. But we've got 47 currently active channels. 3 of them are offline for a moment while I do some maintenance. But they'll be back online soon, and we'll be back up to our fully operational ohmTown. Dun, dun, dun. But right now, those 3 are at Tashi Station getting some power converters. Anyway, I'm Mayor Watt, and I'm saying bye, and so is the AI.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for an episode of Wanted. Stay tuned. We have more shows ahead.
That's right. Right after this one is going to be the Continuity Report, which is about entertainment news. And we're going to reset yet again, and we're going to do 3 more shows. Those 3 shows on Sunday are typically what?
The Sunday shows would be WarCrafters, Technology Today, and Four Wheel Tech.
That's right. So WarCrafters is all about gaming. Technology Today is more science-based, deeper dive. Not so deeper dive, but more technical than our Non Sequitur news shows and ohmTown shows in general. And then Four Wheel Tech is all about automotive technology. So we'll see you then. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the continuity report for January 11th, 2024. I am Mayor Watt, and I run ohmTown.com, which houses all of the shows that are hosted here on Twitch and YouTube, and the podcasts, and Patreon, and Discord, and TikTok, and Carrier Pigeon, and we do smoke signals, and subscribe to the newsletter. I might have said too many of those things, but anyway, we do a show. We do 6 shows weekly and 1 show daily, and on Saturday, these 3 shows become the weekend edition composite of Non Sequitur News Weekend Edition for Saturday, and then 3 different shows on Sunday. So I hope you subscribe to us here on Twitch and over on YouTube. YouTube houses over 1,700 episodes. We've been doing this. We just started season 4 12 days ago, but we're in a time machine episode for Saturday because, well, it's Sunday. Anyway, that was a hell of a messy intro. Anyway, like I said, I'm Mayor Watt, and along with the Sentient AI, we do a show called The Continuity Report, which is all about entertainment news, and we do 5 articles. These 5 articles, I make up a fake title, and then we talk about it on the other side. We're going to talk about a grim movie, Grimm. Film is Helldivers 2. I thought it was kind of a funny name. Anyway, best nerd movies. Star Wars set a longer time ago from when the other one started, but it's a younger, or not so far. I'm not sure how this works out. Anyway, and then we're going to talk about under 90-minute movies, because what's better than 8-minute abs than 7-minute abs? And if you want today's show notes, you can hit !TCR, the continuity report, and Omatron will spit the articles out in the order that we're going to go through them, but not particularly popular. It's not popularity based. I might actually add a voting mechanism back to ohmTown, but that'll be coming in 2025. Not immediately, but yeah, I thought that we had it at one time, but voting really didn't play a role in the particular articles because we didn't want like bots or anybody dictating based on popularity what we're going to talk about, because some stuff is interesting that not everybody sees. And so algorithmically, I'm not a big fan of algorithms dictating what you watch or what you check out. In fact, I think it's a hindrance to discovery. So anyway, hello, Sentient AI from the future.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, ohmTown citizens.
I don't know. You know what happens sometimes? And I think that it's like ADD, ADHD. I'm not quite sure. But I don't even know if I did the intro, like if I played the music.
Yes, I don't know at this point because I lost track.
Okay. I'm just going to move on. Anyway, so we really dig Grimm, the fairy tales from, back in the day. Like the original ones are really horrific. And then they were quote unquote Disneyfied for certain periods of time, and other people would find the originals and remake them as some horror movie or whatever. But there is apparently now a Grimm movie. Grimm is coming back from the dead, this time in the form of a movie. Peacock is developing a feature-length reboot of the fantasy cop drama, which aired for 6 seasons on NBC from 2011 to 2017. Variety has confirmed it. Josh Berman, the creator of Lifetime's Drop Dead Diva, is writing the Grimm movie. Now,
interesting.
This thing is 8 years dead or undead.
Yeah, it's quite a lag.
Right. Now, I thought that it was great up until the last 2 seasons, I'd say. It started deviating from something that was a little more compelling and fun to this really abstract, there's a demon child that blah, blah, blah. Ethan Shanfeld over at Variety.com put the article together. But it was a cop show, and the cop discovered that their lineage was from the Grimm family, and they were essentially demon hunters. The original Grimm fairy tales were gathered by the Grimm brothers all through Germany, Bavaria, I believe, and other areas in that region, gathering up these kind of horror tales from a bygone era, documenting them so that they weren't lost to time. They apparently have recently discovered something like 250 more fairy tales or Grimm's tales in the original language that they're translating and maybe will release at some point, but I haven't heard anything in like a year. So I don't know what's going on with that. But like Cinderella is a horror movie, right? But it's been
Right, but it's
Disneyfied.
been made into like a positive, like a fairy tale
Yeah. And I guess
for
it is in
kids.
some for kids. Yeah. I guess in some way it was a fairy tale, like a positive thing. Don't be like these people, because if you're like Cinderella, then
Right,
everything's
the
okay.
positive people win in the end.
Right. Which, yeah, supposedly. Meanwhile, there's horrific stuff going on around them. So Peacock is developing a feature-length reboot of the fantasy cop drama, which aired for 6 seasons. I don't know how much they're going to get into this, but the plot and cast of the Grimm movie are kept under wraps. But the original series starred David Giuntoli as Portland homicide detective Nick Burkhart, who discovers he is a Grimm, a guardian sworn to protect the balance between humanity and the mythological creatures known as Vysen. Or Vesen. Sorry, it's Vesen, not Vysen. Vysen is a beer, but anyway, Vesen.
Maybe that too.
Yeah.
Watch out
So
for those Besson with Bison.
yeah, they're drunk. Throughout the series, Nick takes on a variety of menacing opponents with help from his wolf-like Vesen buddy Monroe, Silas Weir Mitchell, which is an awesome name for a
Besson.
wolf-like, yeah. And his partner, Detective Hank Griffin, Russell Hornsby. So, but what are you going to do when you're read in that there is a supernatural menace that's coming to wipe out humanity? You kind of assist, right? So at some point, Hank gets read in on what's going on. Anyway, rounding out the ensemble were Bitsy Tulloch, Sasha Royce, Reggie Lee, Bree Turner, Claire Coffey, and it was a fun show, and you could turn off your brain. But they said that it isn't the first time that they've toyed with reviving Grimm. In 2018, they announced a spin-off series, but apparently that didn't quite happen, right?
Well, that was probably right before the pandemic, and a lot of TV production shut down or delayed.
Yeah, I can see how that would kind of die before it could. So, per the network, the spinoff was meant to build off of the mythology of the original series and feature returning fan favorites and new characters. However, the series never made it past development.
I think if they have a lot of the original actors and they have some of the original writing staff, this could be good.
I think they
But
need
it'll be
better world
interesting.
building.
Well, I was going to say, who's the audience on this? Is it the original TV viewers?
No, I think that they shouldn't riff off of the old. It should be a new Grimm that's charismatic, that has star potential, and it could become another Supernatural.
Right.
But you need those writers constructing the world.
Well, and
The
then you could have multiple movies potentially.
Buffy the Vampire
Because they'd
Slayer
always have a new
story,
demon or something that is involved.
Yep.
Yes.
But I think the downfall for Grimm, at least for me, was first off jumping the shark. They brought in a child into this, and the moment you do that, when there is a historical 5 years without really a child, the moment you jump the shark, it's over and done with, because people are like, I don't want everybody worrying about a child involved being a supernatural whatever too. And on top of it, everything was kept within this small town, which was fine for Buffy, but the world building, it went beyond in Buffy, it went beyond that small town, but only by like proxy. People were brought in and stuff like that. But with Grimm, it was always kept to this tiny little thing. So, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer had Hellmouths, which allowed evil to come forward, kind of a thing.
Right. Well, then that expands your potential stories.
Yeah. And Grimm, it was Wesson or Vesson were, because W is V, but anyway. So Vesson was largely physical embodiments of this what do you want to call it? Mythological creatures, right? So they were real. It wasn't just some nebulous evil. And you could have all of that other stuff in there, vampires and werewolves and everything else involved. Yeah, I think it's just time to start over and bring in a new set of actors and do some real world building. But you're going to have to get, and they have to get, I mean, the writers, they're going to have to get the IP of Grimm, which
I think it's in the public domain.
What is
at least in
published.
The original it is, but
Right. Yeah. The original source material, but somebody owns that.
Do you mean Grimm from the show?
Well, not just from that show, but from the Grimm's fairy tales and the newer discovery of Grimm's tales, which have never been seen apparently, but their provenance already puts them out of copyright. But if it's discovered by somebody else and then published, is it a new copyright? Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
It shouldn't be, but we don't know what they're going to do with it.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested. I really like the supernatural fairy tale kind of stuff. And it would be neat if it was the dark original world building, just like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, right? It was dark, but it was funny and fun, and you could turn your brain off. But if you knew the historical record of the various players, you know, the mythological vampire and werewolf and all of that, then it makes for fun conversation too. So, sorry. And that's about the Grimm movie, not Helldivers. So let's move on. The next article is over in WarCrafters, and this is Helldivers 2 is getting a film adaptation, even though Starship Troopers already exists. A Helldivers 2 film adaptation is in production. Sony announced at CES 2025 back on January 6th, 5th, 6th. The collaboration between Sony Productions and Sony Pictures doesn't have a release window or any confirmed details other than the fact that it's happening. And PlayStation Productions made the announcement during Sony CES press conference. So, have you seen Starship Troopers?
I don't believe so. So I don't know the connection other than it must be kind of a similar story or premise.
It is, yeah,
But I mean, that's never stopped films before, right? I
sure.
mean, we've seen multiple fill in the blank, like a disaster or alien invasion or whatever, and they can be done as long as they're not exact duplicates.
What's really interesting, though, is that Helldivers 2 is like diametrically opposed from the original Helldivers. It's a completely different style of game
That's
and all of
right.
that. But Helldivers 2 really caught on because you took on that person, first person, and you collaborate with other people and you spread democracy by wiping out these aliens. And then there's other tech involved now. But Sean Prescott over at PCGamer.com put the article together. They also mentioned in the deck statement that Ghosts of Tsushima is getting an anime. But this article is all about Helldivers 2 being kind of riffing off of what Fallout is doing. Fallout, it got
Right. It
a
was a real hit on, I think, Amazon.
yeah, I think it's a Prime thing, and it became a big hit, and now it's being negatively impacted by the fires in LA. But it will see the light of day because it's just awesome. Well, it says here the collaboration between Sony Productions and Sony Pictures doesn't have a release window, but if they're announcing it at CES, I'm hoping that it'll actually be made. The elephant in the room is that Helldivers 2 is already basically a video game take on Paul Verhoeven's Starship Troopers, which is a great film, whether you're a genius enough to detect that it's satire or not. Some people, it is satirical if you allow yourself to believe that it's satirical. Otherwise, it is nothing more than a hack and slash kind of movie, and you can turn your brain off and watch it. Satire requires you to buy into the ideological bent that there's a real world analog to this, and this is just satirically blown over the top. But sociologically, guess what? There is elements within military forces that are as zealot like as Starship Troopers or Helldivers 2, you know. And so it isn't really satire. It's an element of the real world kicked up a
It's
notch.
more like hyperbolic,
Yes. Yes.
whatever you want to say about the genre. But yeah.
Yeah. And how do you know that? Because there are people that are writing on bombs, take that, Saddam, or, catch this or whatever. And we've been doing that since time immemorial. They used to put runes on spears and throw them at people, for crying out loud. Might as well say you can do that. But satire or not, it's a fun show, Starship Troopers, and there's multiples now of the Starship Troopers movies. Helldivers 2 is basically Starship Troopers in game form, and there's a Starship Troopers game.
Oh, that's interesting too. So I guess it's kind of like, has it already been done? But my suspicion is that the game is far enough from Starship Troopers that that shouldn't be a concern.
Yeah.
Plus,
And
it's a new generation of audience, right?
yeah, and it's a new take, new world building. It's slightly different, but still the same. It's just enough off of it that you can't really protect it from duplication because all they're doing is killing robots and bugs. So the 1997 sci-fi film was based off of the novel by Robert A. Heinlein and follows the travails of some United Citizen Federation recruits as they annihilate droves of arachnids. Essentially the same thing that's in Starship. Not the same thing that's in Helldivers 2 is in Starship Troopers. They are arachnid-like bugs. It was pretty divisive at the time for seeming an endorsement of fascism and its gratuitous ultraviolence, but that perception had shifted pretty dramatically since, even though it still is, because people are pulled into the system, tested, seen as you're skilled at this or that or the other, and that's what you advance in. You're told what to do because you're a military conscript. You have to do service to actually have kids, to maintain citizenship. You have to do service, etc. So it's definitely fascist in nature. And Helldivers 2 takes that another step because you are wholeheartedly bringing democracy to the bugs by basically wiping them out. So it says they're not saying that Helldivers 2 film can't stand on its own. It appeals to me more than, say, Ghost of Tsushima anime, but it'll be interesting to see, I guess, if it can manage to be more than a retread. Trying to compare the two, basically, because it's part of the same announcement, is odd because Ghost of Tsushima is nothing like.
Yeah, but I feel like that's almost a knock at the Helldivers 2 film. Like, I'm really not interested in, for example, a Ghost of Tsushima anime.
But
So,
I'll watch
yeah,
this.
maybe I'll watch this. But beyond that, I'm not so certain.
Yeah.
Is kind of the take I'm getting, but I don't know.
And PC Gamer and the author, it says Helldivers 2 was our favorite, the author's favorite for a multiplayer game of the year for 2024. And to be honest, it's probably got more potential for a film adaptation than any of the competition, especially Borderlands, which is similarly funny co-op shooter. But no, Borderlands was, I think, kind of sloppy. It joins an alarmingly long list of forthcoming game-to-film adaptations, which includes stuff like Minecraft starring Jack Black, Mortal Kombat 2 starring Carl Urban, and lots more besides, including Angry Birds 3, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, and then they say, and much more, on top of the fact that they said lots more, and before that, an alarmingly long list of forthcoming. So
I
I
mean,
guess
I
there's a
hate to
lot.
say it. If it's a gaming hit, it seems like the studios don't have much to lose by not trying to do film adaptations. But the problem is if they're too high budget, that's where I think they're setting themselves up
It'll
for
get
failure,
kicked.
and or they're too far removed from whatever made the original game appealing.
Yeah, and I don't know how Jack Black will amplify, or people are going to go who kind of a thing, for Minecraft, but
Yeah,
I
I
guess
don't
we'll
know.
see.
I mean, he seems like he's kind of one of those universally liked characters, at least in certain types of films. So maybe that'll work.
Yeah, him and Josh Gad remind me of each other.
Yes, exactly. I think they have a similar audience appeal.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in the Continuity Report, the 15 best nerd movies of all time that are ranked according to Screen Rant. Nerd movies, like geeks themselves, have come a long way over the last few years. I mean, I grew up with Police Academy, and so
But
there
that
was
wouldn't
a
really be a nerd movie. That'd just be a slapstick movie.
Police Academy, Revenge of the Nerds, that era of movie. So nerd movies, Revenge of the Nerds is the epitome of nerd movie. Back in the day when you could construct a movie like that, I don't know, maybe those times are back. We'll see. I have and I would have been categorized as a nerd, back then. So when films about nerds and geeks started becoming popular in the 80s, we showed the characters as losers, misfits, outsiders who had to face bullies, and that's still the case today, who are often cool, popular kids. Since the 80s, the roles have stayed the same concerning their brains and status as misfits, but these characters have become more prestigious, important, as brains are more important than brawn in today's society. If the nerd can survive the
Depends
social.
on where you're in society. But yeah, I would agree. I think there's been a shift
Sure.
toward nerds.
Yeah, but back in the 80s, we used to say the meek shall inherit the earth. So look
Right,
around,
that's
folks.
changed.
So, but my problem with all of this is that it isn't just a shift in the acceptance of nerds. Oh, look, they have Revenge of the Nerds are the two on that side. Well, anyway, the thing is that the rise of sociopathy has impacted this shift into nerds basically being able to take over. To survive, you had to turn off your empathy, sympathy, compassion, understanding of the human condition and go full on. And that has been amplified by wealth. That's just my calling out the fact that that's what I've witnessed over the last many decades now, I'd say. So, this article is by Sean S. How do you Lelos? Lealos?
Maybe Lelos or
Lelos? I'm going to say sure. Lelos. Yeah, Sean S. Lelos. But George Jimenez.
I know. That's why I didn't want to weigh in on the pronunciation.
We'll just leave it alone. So I haven't even seen this. It's called Sydney White. This is number 15. I won't be able to go through all of these, but I'll jump from number 15 down a little bit. It's a retelling of Snow White with the Seven Dwarfs as nerds. I've never heard of this. Amanda Bynes.
I'm surprised this made the ranking.
Amanda Bynes plays Sydney White, a spin on Snow White. She heads to college and quickly becomes popular thanks to her likable personality and catches the eye of a popular frat guy named Tyler Prince. However, Tyler is dating Rachel Witchburn, and this young woman sets her sights on ruining Sydney and gets her kicked out of her sorority, and she ends up befriending the Seven Dorks, college outcasts. This is in 2007. What a trip. Might have to watch this.
It's almost 20 years ago.
I'd have to watch this again, or watch this, and then the 80s ones again, if you can even find them.
But this, interestingly, does kind of sound like the 80s genre ones.
Sure.
Like it could be, depending on how it's executed.
While the movie did go back to the geeks as outsiders trope, it was a nice callback to Revenge of the Nerds styled humor. So then House Bunny, this was actually a fun watch. A Playboy Bunny moves to a sorority of outcasts and basically pivots the sorority. Depressed, she decides to be a sorority house mother to live in their nice houses. However, the only house that accepts her is the Zeta Alpha Zeta house, which is kind of like the last house, based on the name Zeta Alpha Zeta. So a house of socially awkward young women who take her in because they think that she'll attract boys to the house. There are problematic areas to the story, as the entire idea is the women in the sorority house believing they need a prettier woman to get the boys. But it's actually kind of a fun watch. I've seen that one. That one's from 2008. Then Napoleon Dynamite, which is a stalwart, like fan favorite kind of a thing. A moment in the life of a socially awkward high schooler. If you've never seen Napoleon Dynamite, depending on your mentality at the time, like you may be able to tolerate it, but I don't know. You may not. He doesn't necessarily come across as a likable person.
Oh, I see. And he's supposed to be the protagonist.
He is the protagonist. Yeah. Napoleon is a nerd who believes he is cooler than other kids in school, but he also faces bullying by the popular kids. However, despite his antisocial attitude and need to often lash out at those around him, he also has a big heart and sets out to help a fellow nerd in Pedro Sanchez in his desire to run for student council. So, yeah, it was a massive success, made for only $400,000, but made $46.1 million at the box office, thanks to...
Oh, wow.
Basically, it went meme, and everybody went and watched it. So, I'm having a hard time jumping to other movies because they're hitting this, like, nail on the head kind of a thing. War Games is a nerd movie.
Yeah, this is more what I thought might be in here. The first three kind of surprised me. I'm not saying they don't match, but yeah. I wouldn't have identified those really. Maybe Napoleon Dynamite. I don't know much about that one.
in war games, basically Matthew Broderick he's the Ferris Bueller on the nerd side, right? Like he, just like in Ferris Bueller, he was given a computer and he hacks and changes his grade, that kind of a thing. That's what happens in war games.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, maybe he was a carryover nerd, but not
Yeah,
in Ferris Bueller. Maybe that's like the B story.
yeah. So a nerdy hacker almost starts World War III. In war games, he hacks into the school, changes his grade, changes his female friends' grade, but they're not girlfriend, boyfriend kind of a thing. They're not in a relationship. They're just friends, which is like, that is the nerdy kind of relationship embodiment, typically that gets written about, friend zoned kind of a thing, but they're actually more than that by the end of the movie. So Matthew Broderick stars as David Lightman, a young computer hacker who accidentally hacks into the United States military supercomputer called the Whopper. And every time I hear that, I think of the SNL skit where they're like, these lights are blinking out of order from Airplane 2. And in Airplane 2, the guy says, oh, well, make them blink in order. And it's actually the lights from Star Trek. There's like a blinking rotation thing.
Okay.
Anyway, deep cut if you're a nerd. Anyway, War Games is actually pretty awesome and had equipment that I and others would have used, like war driving, war dialing, where you would dial computer phone numbers, thousands upon thousands of computers, to see which computer would activate via a modem. And then it would record it. And then you could come back and try and gain access to the computer. Back in the day, yo.
I made a reference to war games yesterday in RealityHacker.
Yeah, stop it. Not making references, that's fine. Yeah, everybody go back and watch RealityHacker from yesterday. Okay, Revenge of the Nerds, Big Hero 6, which actually has a nerdy brother and a very popular brother, a 40-year-old virgin, Spider-Man, which he's more, if you want to call him nerdy, he was just, well, I don't know. He's very charismatic. Everybody really liked him. But I guess, I suppose it's because he was more engaged in science.
Right. I mean, I guess I can see that, but I don't think most people would identify Spider-Man in this
cool
area. Yeah.
Yeah. He wasn't cool as Peter Parker. He was cool as Spider-Man.
Right. I guess that's the same for many Marvel characters.
Yep. Then Weird Science. All of these are absolutely spot on so far, except for the ones that I haven't seen and I can't place them there. Booksmart, two nerdy girls decide to have fun and are at the end of high school. On the end of high school? It's a weird turn of phrase. Anyway, they have different reasons for wanting to go wild at a year-end graduation party. I guess they're studious is what it says. Too studious and by the book high school seniors. They want to have a good time before they move on to college, to at least have the experience. All right. Ghostbusters, I don't think is nerdy. They're scientists.
Well, wait a second. There's definitely some nerdy main characters.
See, I get it, but when I think of nerd, I don't think of grown-ass men. Nerds.
I think probably all four of the main male leads could fit into that characterization.
Maybe if they were younger, but I don't see middle-aged men as being nerdy.
It's not like War Games or something.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, if you go back,
like
all
games,
of them...
but didn't grow up, right?
Yeah. 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 Failure to launch kind of a thing. The 40-year-old virgin, again, so first off, I haven't seen it, so I can't place it. But I don't see a middle-aged man as being a nerd. I just think that they're a 40-year-old man that didn't launch, that kind of a thing. So then the social network, a nerd becomes a rich man thanks to his brains, but the social network is a riff off of Facebook, for crying out loud.
Well, yeah, it talks about Zuckerberg in the description.
Yeah, it is Facebook. So if he's considered a nerd, then I don't know what's considered a nerd nowadays. Then the Goonies, yep, that actually lands in the nerd spectrum because they're basically social outcasts that are trying to save. And this is, I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, these are movies though. So, and we're running really late, by the way. So Back to the Future. And then number 1 is Superbad, written by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg.
You know what was completely missing from this ranking was Real Genius.
Oh yeah, Real Genius.
Which every character in that is at least on the protagonist side, would have qualified. Even some on the antagonist side would have.
Yeah, all of them are. Although, can you hammer a 6-inch spike through a 2x4? I don't know. I don't know if he counts as a nerd because of how that sentence pops up, so to speak. Okay, let's keep moving. Go and check out that article. It's a lot of fun. And then watch all of those movies. We have to have movie night. We really do, for the Continuity Report. Once a week, watch a movie. Start doing all of the nerd movies. Might as well. Anyway, the next article is over in the Continuity Report. James Mangold is setting his Star Wars a long, long time ago to avoid tangled lore. So between films, shows, TV game or video games, comics, probably a napkin or two sitting around George Lucas's estate, the Star Wars canon has gotten so complicated that it's nearly impossible to tell an original story from it says without stumbling on some sort of tripwire. James Mangold.
Well, I was going to say there was a separate article in ohmTown this week where it talked about like multiple times that they'd had to retcon in Star Wars. So I think that's kind of overlapping with this idea from this article.
Yeah. So, and that's why I said it's a longer time ago, but nearer to our current timeline in a galaxy still far away. But anyway, Mangold's Star Wars prequel will take place 25,000 years before any of the other films. Emma Keats over at AV Club put the article together, and it says the Star Wars movie would be taking place 25,000 years before any known Star Wars movies take place.
I think that's kind of smart. You know why? They can keep making movies from that point forward, and they'll never run into the current batch.
Particularly if they tight-knit them, you know. The complete unknown director told MovieWeb of his film working title, Dawn of the Jedi. Now that's dangerous because it's setting the precedent for the canon of how the Jedi came into existence. It's an area and a playground that they've always wanted to explore and that they were inspired by as a teenager. They're not interested in being handcuffed by so much lore at this point that it's almost immovable and you can't please anybody. But you're going to piss off everybody if your canon doesn't knit into. So can you imagine? You can set the horrible trend by saying that this is how the Jedi were formed, only to be retconned out with a later movie earlier to the 25,000 year later date.
Right.
So it's the same strategy that spin-offs like House of the Dragon and Dune Prophecy have utilized in recent years, though Mangold's film is journeying a much longer time ago. So they went back about 200 or 10,000 years from their original timelines, respectively. So House of the Dragon and Dune Prophecy. So the fashion, architecture, speech pattern should be different from the original properties. Culture doesn't stay the same over that many decades, much less centuries. So, yeah, I agree.
This is going to be interesting to see how it's received by Star Wars fans.
Pissing off everybody, one retcon at a time. Let's keep moving. The next article is over in the Continuity Report, the 54 best movies under 90 minutes. I will not be able to go through this. Just saying. This is a show that could span a week.
Okay, but what's one of the takeaways here?
Oh,
Some movies are just too long.
too long. Yeah.
Like, this is a good list to look at if you don't want to devote your entire day to a single movie.
Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul, now on Netflix, was added specifically and earmarked at the top of this
Uh-huh.
series. So Jada Wan, Kyle Buchanan, Nate Jones, Kevin Lincoln. How is that? Is that Billy Ebery? I guess. I don't know. Bilge. And Allison Wilmore all put effort into this article over at vulture.com.
I wonder if they almost served as a panel or something to figure this out, or they each took different sections, because this is a lot of movies to cover.
Yeah. The movies below are listed by length, starting with the shortest. So Dumbo, it's 64 minutes. I will not be able to go through all of these. Frankenstein, Pickpocket, The Nightmare Before
Okay, wait.
Christmas.
But we've talked about Nightmare Before Christmas specifically, and that's definitely worth a watch if you haven't seen it. And go.
Okay. Primer, which is a time travel movie, which is awesome. It took $7,000 to make, but it is a viral smash hit.
Oh, wow. That makes Napoleon Dynamite pale in comparison, considering the budget.
Yep. And it was free for a while, actually. But now I think you can buy it. So Shiva Baby, I don't know. Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul is only 79 minutes. But I won't be able to go through all of these. Rope is really good. Run Lola Run is really good. Let's see. Toy Story, A Night at the Roxbury. I didn't like, only because I found it kind of depressing. This is Spinal Tap is a mockumentary. They call this rockumentary. Speakers may go to 11, but the film's runtime doesn't. It's actually a mockumentary about the rock, heavy metal kind of space. Blackfish, Ghost in the Shell is awesome. Borat, Black Dynamite is actually a fun watch. If you've ever wondered how blaxploitation cinema looks from the vantage point of the present, Black Dynamite is your answer. Definitely go and check it out. It's one of those movies where you go, how did this get made kind of thing, which I think they actually did that. They actually did that movie.
Okay, that's another podcast.
Another podcast, yeah, called How Did This Get Made? Chronicle. If this is what I thought it was Chronicle I thought was about an alien, but anyway, Pi, Slow West. I won't be able to go through all of these. I'm sorry. There's just so many, but I thought it was interesting to highlight the fact that there are movies that are going all the way back to the late 20s. Airplane is in here from 1980. It's 88 minutes. Absolute blast. It actually was probably a compass for my entire life.
Fantastic Mr. Fox also went by. You don't have to scroll back up.
Gotcha. Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, which is kind of this viral hit. Rashomon, Welcome to the Dollhouse, Zombieland, Eraserhead. That is a cult hit. So on and so forth.
The Lion King, Stand By Me. It's interesting to see some of these go by and they're like award winners. So,
yeah.
movie makers, you don't have to make an epic film.
Right. You just have to have tight writing and be passionate about it and not crazy about it. Anyway, that's it. There's 54 movies that are under 90 minutes. I think that's what it said. But there's more in here. I don't know if there's comments or what. Oh, no, it's just I thought that there was more, but the way that it scrolled, it made it seem like it was longer. Anyway, that's it. We're done. So we are going to rewind the film, and that'll bring us back to the continuity report over at ohmtown.com. Go over there and become a citizen. I am Mayor Watt saying, see you later. We're going to reset and start the 3 shows for Sunday. See you in a little bit. You want to say bye?
Bye, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for the continuity report.
Boop.